folding was my bad, but then we learned that it wasn't.
Was that it? It doesn't matter.
That was my bad.
That's
So I brought
okay.
it to Matt and he was like, oh, you can't fold them. And then he looked at it and he goes, but this is a preliminary plan, so it doesn't matter. I was like, oh, good.
Yeah, so thank, you know,
Good to
it's,
learn on,
I'm
thank you.
not, yeah. Yeah, I'm not upset at all. I'm just happy. You guys meet on the same night and I can maybe knock
Yeah.
this out if everyone shows up.
Perfect. What do we do with Barbara? Who is no longer on the board and certainly won't be attending this meeting tonight.
I think because the plans are being presented to you tonight,
It's just us.
it's you,
Okay,
you sign them.
easy enough. All right, are we ready to go here? You're
Yeah,
already
we're all
up
set.
there.
We're online,
We're in the meeting. All right, well, let's call this meeting to order.
don't quite have enough people to actually have a meeting.
Yes, well, we can at least get started and sign these documents, right?
Is there enough of you here to sign?
Well,
We
I
need one
mean,
more.
we had 4 people attend the meetings
Right,
and we only have 2 of them here.
okay.
You haven't heard from Eric, I assume.
Haven't heard
Yeah.
yet. I could give him,
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's in town. He could pop in and sign these documents.
If you want, I can hang out for a while,
Sure.
unless you want to.
well, it's gonna be a very short meeting.
I
You
was
can't stay up
trying to
here.
just kind of get you out the door
Yeah,
here,
I appreciate it,
Yeah.
yeah.
but if we're waiting,
Can we record them with just 2 or is that?
I don't know what the rules on that are.
I think we have to have a quorum. for that.
But is a quorum only 2 if there are only 3 members on the board?
No,
right now?
it's still
Still
3. Yeah, so we have to vote unanimously on everything. Yeah,
Cause there's 5 seats on the board, so
Right.
you have to have.
Yeah.
Basically, if we have 2 planning board members, we don't have a planning board, so.
And Kate, they told you 5 sets, that's what Dan told me, we need 5.
Sure, that's what Dan told you.
Okay, I don't know how many you'll need, because I need
I think
one to
it's-
record, correct?
It's,
At each
it's
registry.
one in each registry. And then I think 1 in each office and maybe a couple
Stuff
for you,
Okay, I printed 8, but we'll just do 5, it's fine.
yeah. Cause there's 1 in each town, 1 in each registry, and then,
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense, thank you.
Does anyone have Eric's number? I'm not coming up with it in my phone.
Or worse, if I can drive to his house after, I don't mind.
he's not that far away, but who knows if he's in town.
Hold on, let me see. Hi, Eric. This is Kate Guy from the town of Waldeboro. I'm good. I was wondering if you were gonna come to the planning board meeting tonight. Well, we need you to have a meeting, and also Greg is here to get his document signed, so is there any way you could swing in for 5 minutes to sign the maps? Okay. Swing by here and sign his maps, and then we'll let you go. Thank you. Okay, he's gonna come and sign the maps, but he can't stay.
Okay. Should we bother having the rest of the meeting? I have some questions, things to discuss about some
I
of the
think we
land
can
use
have an
ordinance
informal
changes.
discussion.
Okay,
We can't make any decisions or have.
You just can't vote on anything.
Meeting, but we could have a discussion.
sure, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess while we're waiting for Eric to arrive, why don't we jump into that? Where am I now? Bring my notes, right? Oh, let's see, not print that one. All right, so going from memory then. The small structure setbacks. I have a question about setbacks, and this affects two of the things that we're talking about with regards to changes.
Mhm.
So, under our definition of structures, it tells us that a structure is pretty much anything that's standing in town. Anything temporarily or permanently located, built or constructed for the support, shelter, or enclosure of persons, animals, goods, or property of any kind, or anything constructed or erected in the ground. The term includes structures temporarily or permanently located, such as satellite dishes. Structure does not include fences, poles and wiring, and other aerial equipment associated with service drops, guy wires and guy anchors, subsurface wastewater disposal, and geothermal wells. So, flipping to page 619, we have a table, section 6.8. Where's that? 619. So 6.8 says all structures and uses under 6.74 shall meet or exceed the following minimum dimensional requirements, which includes all of our setbacks for all the different zones. So I guess why do we think that a school bus stop or a solar array on the ground is not a structure and does not have to comply with the setbacks?
The school bus stop does,
Okay.
right?
Well, that was the change that you had asked. Like, should the setback be decreased?
Correct.
Or
For smaller structures that like farm stands, there's certain things that if you can think about it, a school bus stop, for instance, that somebody wants a shelter for their child for. Those theoretically have to meet the setback requirements, which could be, depending on Route 1, it's 100 feet.
right.
Well, Route 1/4, 75 in a residential area
Right.
or rural.
So
So
the request
are
is
those-
decrease the setback.
Yeah, it's just an option to look out and say, okay, what are we really doing? Are we, the other thing is if somebody has a small shed that's under 100 square feet and doesn't have a permit or whatever size the board even indicates, does it have to be 30 feet off from a property line?
I like the spirit
So-
of my big one here is for the kids,
Mhm.
that. You just can't have that, you said it was 75 feet back?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, cause you
Doesn't make
couldn't have
sense.
it like right on the edge of the thing, that's a safety issue.
Right,
So I think the spirit of the rule is good, but that's impractical. It's 100 feet back and you've got snow and everything, so I think there's some room there for a compromise of rational people to say, hey, wait a minute.
that was the whole intent of
Yeah.
bringing that to you is to
Yeah.
say, is there, does everything have to meet
Right,
the letter of
right.
the law on that? Or are we missing the boat by, not allowing some of these things to be closer to
Right.
like the
Oh,
road
I hear you.
setback or,
And let's not let perfect be enemy of the good. 100 feet, yeah, you'd never have maybe a car, but it's just, I think to me, it's just a little impractical. So I think somewhere in the middle there is that, and I guess that everyone's gonna have an opinion.
yeah, honestly, that's up to you to, talk amongst the board members and come up with what you think is going to be, a setback that would be allowable or practical for, certain purposes or size limitations or whatever it is you want to do.
But I
But
think a fruit stand is different than for the children to sit in. right? I mean, or is it? or
It can
am I
be, but
wrong?
if you're in a wooded area,
Yeah.
if you're 75 feet away from the road, nobody's ever gonna see,
Right. Right,
a farm stand. And a lot of these, and I know you've seen them when you drive around, they have these little structures that they're selling eggs out of or whatever, and
So
they're
if they put
usually
those-
not far off the
they
road.
put those right on the edge of the road and they have like squash or zucchini.
yeah.
With a jar and say, take what you want. So that, what is that? I mean, it
If it's a
seems
structure, then
Yeah.
it fits that whole setback requirement. And again, we haven't done anything. I work on complaints
Yeah.
because I get so much work now that it's not funny.
right.
But nevertheless, when somebody comes in and asks me the question, I have to cite what the rules are.
I got you.
And of course, then people are like, well, I see stuff all over town. I'm like, well, I can't control what happened prior to me or anything else. I'm just quoting to you what the book
Right.
says.
Mm.
So,
I'm gonna give you one theoretical and I'll shut up. So if there's two abutting properties and one property has that aforementioned farm stand with all kinds of
Mhm.
pickles or whatever. And then the person in front of them or beside them is kind of close to them and they go, hey, wait a minute, I don't want them, cars are really zooming close to my property and that should be set back. Is there anything in that that?
it's totally up to you guys, whatever you
Okay.
guys wanted to come up with. I think that it would be important to, truly think about what it is and the
Right.
different, because there's different things that are gonna fall into different categories and, well, is this okay for this? What about this? I don't know. But it was just something that had come up that I thought the board should look into. So,
And one of the things that I can do is go and look at what other towns do.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, I don't get it, cause there's stuff on the books, it's just not enforced.
there's a lot of things that happen that I basically have to work off from complaints
I'd say.
because I don't have enough time in my schedule to go out and just start arbitrarily handing out violations and driving around and looking for things. It is one of those things that, as people come in, I answer the questions according to the book. But, and if somebody complains, I will go out and enforce the land use ordinance, but.
Well, and then if the structure has been there since before the land use ordinance. was
Right.
in
Correct.
Place,
So it's
then
grandfathered in.
it's fine.
I see.
It would be grandfathered in under that rule.
Right.
So there's also there's certain work and research that has to go into,
got you.
if a shed is right on the road, but it was built back in, 1935 or, whatever, then, people can complain about it, but it doesn't actually fall under these
Yeah.
ordinances because things
I
are
see.
grandfathered.
Okay.
So,
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't, the school bus stop and the farm stand thing, I think in the rural and residential districts, 75 feet back is pretty far.
Well, if the
Yeah,
person, if the person
Just-
wants,
I'd give them a 25-foot setback.
Yeah,
Special.
something
I think
reasonable.
25 keeps you out of getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
I just assign 25 feet and I think you're protected, but anyway,
that's.
from an outsider, just kind of. I'm listening to these setbacks and I go, I think 25 would be. And it's a kind of a standard front setback anyway, and so I think people are, I don't know, 25 sounded good, so. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
not party to board, but
You certainly can see it from the road at 25 feet.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable place to put it. We're already at or below 25 feet in most of the districts anyway. But in rural and residential, it's still 75.
Route 1 is 100.
Yeah, which is curious. We certainly have people who are selling food on the side of the road, well within 100 feet. I'm thinking about this farm stand up in Palermo on Route 3 where these people sell gladiolas and they've got picnic tables that they set right on the edge of the asphalt with 5-gallon buckets filled with bouquets on it. And all summer long, people are pulling over into the shoulder of the highway and getting out of their cars and going and buying flowers, and it's totally not
Dangerous.
safe. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, that may be something else the board wants to look into is, you know, look, if you're gonna run a farm stand and we are gonna allow a certain thing, maybe there needs to be a turnaround so people aren't backing out onto, you know, busy roads or something, you know, I don't know if there's anything in the books that even covers that.
No, there isn't. There's no parking requirement for the farm stand.
So, yeah, and we could do a turnaround, but with the new legislation coming out about you can't dictate parking, did that ever,
Well, it's parking for residential units.
just residential?
Yeah.
Would that
Unclear because it's coming
comply?
out, but I think that's a question to bring to the folks who are,
Yeah, let them hash that out.
let them hash that out. I
Yeah.
think that's, to me, that's unclear, but it is, you can't dictate more than one parking unit per residential unit. So I don't know how that applies to commercial or other commerce. But that will be in effect as of January.
I don't think it's our town, but like Wisconsin, down there, you know, how people, like they just put a table out, sell strawberries or blueberries or bird houses. And they're not 75 feet from, they're like right there.
Yeah.
But I also think that's
Is that different?
not a structure. I think what Mark is suggesting is, you know, the little telephone booth type structures, a table or a cooler with eggs
Right,
is highly movable.
so it's not considered.
So I think
okay.
something that's highly movable is a little bit different than if you build a, you know, bus stop stand for your kid to sit in is, you know,
Right.
it's still only maybe 3 feet by 3 feet. Size of a telephone booth, but it's
Right.
more of a permanent.
I got you.
Right, and there's differences too. Farm stand is food items.
Food item.
It's, I mean, in our community,
Right.
it's spelled out as food items. Whereas like, I know there was questions about, a flower place on Bremen Road. Well, they're selling flowers. It's not a food item. It's not a food stand. So it's a technical point, but nonetheless, it's,
Yeah.
Well, in some
Alright.
ordinances.
look at you,
All right, Greg, it snaps out.
map signing
I
time.
got some extra pens if you guys need. Thank you for coming. No, I apologize. I mean, so let me see. Waldoboro, here's. There's 8 here. Who wants to start? You want to go first? So you can- The other one said preliminary. But here's your, and you probably put today's date, right?
Is this part an official meeting?
9/11.
This is
Oh,
not an
9/11,
official
yeah.
meeting, they have all 3 planning board members. But
Oh,
when Eric
help
leaves
you?
again, then it's no longer an official meeting.
So many judges. This, the only thing that's going on tonight is this.
Yeah, we're talking about land use ordinance stuff.
Um,
More?
how many copies? That's it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. I really apologize there.
You want me to turn them this
Oh,
time?
even easier.
I will do better.
I'll just go.
What might be your legacy using? Because it may be part of the problem.
That might be part of the problem.
I don't use one.
Oh, we're going the other way. Got it.
Probably this, you probably emailed the one I'm using actually. Right?
Dark.waldeboro@gmail.com.
Yeah, I do use that one. I don't use that as much as the other one, but
Okay.
I'll be more vigilant. I'm trying to move over to that one. Most people still use this Dr. Garrison.
That's the one.
But yeah, use that. I'm trying
And
to.
because it's all, we're talking about stuff from last month, I didn't send out a packet, but I will usually mail a packet, so.
On the slide.
I can't sign.
Oh,
That was the day I worked 40 hours in 3 days.
Okay, so I guess it's just the two of us, which is even weirder.
Barbara's got to sign.
I don't know how that works.
Because
Why
if we're,
can't you
well,
say-
if we're
I
dating
didn't
it,
go. I had to work till 3 days.
did you go to the other meetings before?
I went to the meetings here, but I didn't go to the Warren.
I didn't go to the Warren one either.
You were there remotely.
I was on the phone.
You
that's
were
true.
remotely, yeah.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, I guess that's problematic. I mean, it's-
Well, I guess if they give you trouble, let us know.
yeah,
I-
when I go to the registry, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, technically, the only members of the board who were present for this, who are still on the board, are Eric and I.
Yeah,
mhm.
Right.
So
I think,
it's a peculiar moment in our attendance, but
I don't think it would help, but would it help if I had the sets that, don't you have signed sets that they said preliminary?
we do have the preliminary. set.
Yeah, but that's
But-
not gonna help, is it?
Because Barbara isn't part of the board anymore. We're dating
Okay.
it from today.
well, she can't
Gotcha,
sign that
okay.
either, can she?
I was here for
So who can sign it?
yeah,
I
Brian,
mean,
she's not part of the
it's-
board.
it's
Why
the
would she
two-
sign
it's
it?
the two of you.
No, I
They
said,
can
she
sign it,
can't
so-
sign it.
That's
Yeah.
So just the two of us.
I-
We've
I-
had the members, and if we had a 2-member planning board, it wouldn't technically be, we wouldn't have a quorum to do anything. You would still, I mean, that's who would sign, so.
Right.
All right, so I think you're good to go.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate you guys.
Good
Let
luck.
me interrupt their meeting.
Sure
Thank you very
thing.
much. Good to see you. Good to see you.
I will be when
You have a pen that went under your foot.
Okay.
There's also, we have, I was telling these guys, there's 3 applications in for seats on the planning board. It's some sort of interviewing currently, so we will have more members.
Great.
Like,
Right. Hey, Mark.
Take care.
I'll try to get 4 signatures up there, so.
Evens it out.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe you'll
Thank you.
get 5, you never
Yeah,
know.
you could be. That'll look really good.
all right. Anything else to say about the setbacks for the small structures? I think 25 feet seems reasonable to me on the front.
Very reasonable.
I think the setbacks on the side and rear are already pretty short and I don't think anybody's caring so much about the side and rear setbacks, right? I mean,
Well, the only thing that had come up is there are some people that want to put in, small, I don't know, 5x5, 6x6 thing to keep their lawnmowers in and stuff like that. And for them, if they have like open area, well, they've got to keep it 30 feet off from a property line on some of these
Right,
smaller
rural
lots.
areas.
So that was my only, thing for including that type of idea for you guys to consider. Is that something that the board thinks is a reasonable, alternative, or how intrusive would that be on a neighbor?
Does it apply to solar?
I would read like a ground mounted solar system as being a structure according to the definition that we have now.
Yeah, I got to take a look at the
Cause you have a-
definitions and stuff, because, yeah.
You've got a complaint right now from someone who says that they built it like right on the property line, right?
Well, yes, close. I went there and I actually did the inspection. It's close to the property line, but it's not on the property
Okay,
line.
all right.
It's so.
Is it 30 feet off?
All right. Well, let's discuss this more when Eric's back and let's move on to the accessory dwelling unit definition. So I don't know what the problem is that we're trying to solve talking
So-
about this. So we got 4 different definitions here. We can only affect one of them. So like we can't really create any agreement between NFPA residential code.
Correct.
That's not with anything we can do. So what exactly can we do? What's the problem?
We
I
can
wasn't
align ours
really,
To one of the other 3.
I wasn't really it wasn't as much something for the board to change as it is for the board to understand that at certain point in time, that if the board puts in a definition, that may be trumped by something else down the road. And I have to look at all these definitions in order to figure out, because what my responsibility is to whatever is considered the strictest.
Right,
I have to follow that.
right.
So I have to go, and it was more to give the board an idea that, you know, when they do definitions, if it's not gonna be stricter than one of these other terminologies, then those are gonna apply, and
Yeah.
I have to go by that, so.
Hasn't the president been to marry it to the state statutes on a lot of things that we do?
Say that again?
That we marry whatever our codes to the state,
Some are and some are not, yeah.
not a blanket thing, we just.
Correct, and the whole rationale for that was just for the board to understand that I have different definitions that I have to apply at different times.
Right.
And the biggest one that I can give you is NFPA 1 and NFPA 101 life safety codes. They tend to be more strict than the building code, so I have to go by those and not the building codes when it comes to that. So again, with the definitions, it's the same, thing that I'm dealing with. So sometimes it's, when it comes to the definitions, it's very difficult for you as board members to, say, well, this is the definition. Well, it may be, but I may have to go by something else, which is more strict. And I was just,
Yeah.
it was more of me giving you information and some rationale.
Okay.
That's all.
What's the town under right now? Does the town follow any one of these four?
Oh,
Yeah,
All of them?
Mhm.
And are they all identical to each
No.
other? So that to me is a cluster.
oh, yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's.
that's a very,
Sorry, pardon my, that's
Yeah.
military, but he can't, how can, that's just it.
after a while, John, you kind of get a sense on, once you've looked something
Yeah.
up, okay, well, this is the more strict code, so
Right.
then you go to that and you apply that. But yeah, I have to routinely go from the building codes to NFPA to find out what it is. Like NFPA codes we had a situation in town with it's gonna end up being a private road, but it goes down through and there's a wooden bridge that crosses in order to get to this property, and there was a fire alarm there. And the truck actually went through the bridge,
Right.
not completely, just one tire. But NFPA covers that. NFPA 1 states that you will have access for fire apparatus to get to your residence. Versus there's little language in the building codes. So,
It just appears a very clumsy setup. I mean, like, I'm just thinking also safety, litigation, you name it.
yeah.
and lawyers need jobs too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've sort of outsourced our code writing to third-party NGOs, and then we incorporate their work through state
Right.
statute. So there's no body within the government that would ever coordinate this, because
Right.
it's all, private property, basically. The IBC owns the building code people, or whatever they're called. Was it ICC? It was the agency.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So farm stand. Just to sort of talk about what a farm stand is and is not. Anything over 100 square feet becomes a building, and all of the farm stands around here, like Beth's or Schoolhouse Farm,
Yeah.
like those are not farm stands. Those are agricultural related businesses.
Okay.
So the definition of a farm stand is very broad that we have now. And the way I read it, it absolutely includes a cooler filled with eggs at the end of somebody's driveway, which I think is, the first part of the conversation that we ought to have, which is, like, at what point are we becoming onerous with the way that we're permitting farm stands? Like, we also have an item in here about the local food and
Food sovereignty.
the food sovereignty ordinance, which apparently is not the name of it.
No,
Oh,
it's named something else. It
Yeah.
came in as that to the select board meeting, but
So, the food sovereignty ordinance is extremely poorly written. It's basically 5 pages that doesn't say anything. And one sentence that actually affects people's rights. And the rest of it is all just backup and sort of bloviation about why
Yeah.
food sovereignty matters. So as far as that point goes, I don't think there's really, much that we can incorporate in here. But when we're talking about the farm stand thing, we do need to sort of provide some sort of a pathway for the farm stands to continue to exist. While maybe making some changes around the edges
Right.
about safety. And so to me, most of these farm stands don't really matter. Like, they're not creating a life safety hazard, they're not creating a traffic hazard. But you can have a farm stand that does that. Like, you can, like the Gladiola people in Palermo that I was just talking about, like, that to me is like, it's not safe. It's not safe to have families pulling over on the side of a state highway in a 55-mile-an-hour zone and getting out and going shopping.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, at the very least, cars ought to be getting off of the state highways to me. But the way this is written, it's like completely unenforceable. It's so vague, and we're using words that aren't identified elsewhere in the document. So,
Is
what
there-
do we think
is there any
about?
oversight? I mean, I know you said there's safety is not an issue, but I'm gonna give you a for instance.
Okay.
So say, Molly down there sells strawberries out in front of her house.
Yeah.
And they're moldy, and then someone buys them and eats them and gets sick.
Right.
Is that just out of our hands, or?
My interpretation of the local food sovereignty ordinance is that that's no longer part of local enforcement.
yeah, there was never really part of local enforcement anyway.
Yeah, okay.
But it basically says, you're on your own.
Yeah.
You take the liability on your own for
Right.
these
So
home.
the
So
gist of
you survive the E. coli, and then you
Right.
call the state and file a complaint or
And then-
sue the one with the
So
strawberries.
that's the gist of the food sovereignty, is it's a caveat, I'm sure, let the buyer beware.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
That's the way it was explained at the select board meeting when I was there is, people understand that it's a farm stand. It's not a, it's not a FDA approved, place to buy your meats or whatever.
Right,
So,
yeah. I ran into an interesting situation where I got some crab meat, I won't mention anywhere, and I opened it up and I love crab meat. So it was packed on the 3rd and I bought it the 13th. So after a couple, but I didn't say, it was my bad, I didn't look at the date.
and Brendan, to get back to what you were talking about with the whole Spears Farm and stuff like that. The way that the building codes are, the minute it's an occupiable structure, it has to meet the commercial
Right.
building code.
Right.
So almost regardless of size, if it is going to be occupied by customers, then it falls under the building codes. So, and it falls under NFPA.
They don't go.
So, yeah, in that, those things, I'm really not worried about. Because those things are, you get to a level that's totally different than what we're talking about with farm stands.
And there's certain things that like the Farm Bureau and things regulate in terms of how things are made and produced and labeled and all of that, that
That's out of our purview.
we don't deal with here.
Right. This is really just about where the things are located
Mhm.
and what requires a permit and what does not. Like the way I would read this, like a child's lemonade stand requires a permit from the town.
Well, that brings up another point. From a theoretical standpoint, you're absolutely right.
So like, to me, like that, like we have to sort of draw a line somewhere about what does and doesn't require a permit.
Wait a minute, Brandon, you're saying a kid who wants to raise money and they're selling lemonade has to go to the town?
You
It
look
says-
at
it
the
says
rules.
Stand right here has to get
Oh.
permitted by the code enforcement officer.
Could you-
Right.
Could you shut them down? If they didn't have.
Could I?
Yeah.
Yeah, would I? No. No. You know what?
Oh,
Here's the keys to the office. Have a nice day. I'm not gonna
Right.
enforce that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I'm glad
ridiculous.
that You said that.
No.
It makes me. You know, I'm a Jeffersonian. I think the government that governs least governs best. So I think sometimes we get our hands and it's foolish.
The problem that we get into, and I'm coming from my fire background,
Yes.
most codes are written because people do things that they never ever should have done in the first place, and people die, and that's why the codes
I
are written.
getcha.
And that, it's an unfortunate thing, and it's not like, oh yeah, well, this happened back in, 1830s. Well, no, I mean, how long ago was it that they had the big fire in Rhode Island, and how many people died in that, club? So,
Yeah, it's really the fires that happen in New England that affect the fire code, it seems like.
it's funny you should say that, because, yeah, there's a lot of them.
It's like every time there's a fire in Massachusetts, they change the fire code.
Boston, Quincy, yep.
All right, well. I think more to discuss there. Maybe the defining features that if you have to enter it as a structure, then it gets regulated as a farm stand, and if it's something smaller than that, it doesn't. Like there's lots of people selling produce on the side of the road, and like the notion that you got to come in and pay a fee to have a wheelbarrow with a bunch of pumpkins in it at the end of your driveway is a little silly, I think.
Yeah, technically, we don't write permits for that, just so we're clear. This is more or less, it has to be approved. It says that, here's the approving body to have that. So sometimes there's not like a physical permit that we write for farm stand. That's what we do, is we go through the approval process, and it's either approved or denied. So.
The farm stand doesn't include selling flowers unless you're gonna eat them.
Mm-mm. Correct, because the way that the definitions are and stuff, it's not a food item. And that's how it's.
It says it's
Definition?
1512. It's a booth, stall, stand, or temporary structure from which produce, farm products, and other food related items are sold.
So theoretically, could you eat a plant? Yeah, but honestly,
I mean,
flowers, again, it's the lemonade stand. I'm not gonna twist things around.
I just thought it was odd that it wasn't.
Yep,
Well, I mean, flowers could be a farm product.
it can be, yes. I mean, they could sell dandelions for, eating purposes, or dandelion greens, or, well, I guess greens aren't gonna be a flower, but.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot that can be encompassed in farm products.
yes. All right. I know I had some other thoughts on this, but didn't bring my notes with me. Why don't we move on? The next thing is the food sovereignty ordinance, which we sort of talked about. I don't see any way that really interacts with anything that's in here. It's it's basically just saying follow the state law. That's basically all the thing says.
I was more just making sure you had the information that
Yeah.
you did need to incorporate something. At
Yeah.
least you guys had looked at it, and then.
I've suffered through it a couple times. It's useless. So the rear lot language, I tried to go and figure out if there was any kind of state statute discussing rear lots or back lots, and neither one of those terms shows up in the state statutes at all.
I started pulling language from other towns' ordinances,
Okay,
which was, a lot of them also don't have it, but a couple of them do.
so with this one, I figured we need to write something and like, what are the known issues with this? Like, to me, like, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity for fighting between the owner of the front lot and the rear lot. You know, if they're arguing over like an easement for a right of way. The other thing is the frontage. And like, how do you calculate that frontage for the back lot? If they've got a right of way across the front lot, like, do you use the right of way for use the frontage for the front lot? And if that's the case, like, you know, you have a potential situation where, you know, you could have a development with 36 houses in it that are all accessing across someone else's property. And like, does the traffic volume
Well,
matter for this? To me, like, that isn't really how we talk about it. So
If the right of way is for a driveway, you couldn't necessarily upgrade it to a road.
to a
without
road, yeah.
the permission of the person whose easement it is.
Mhm. Okay,
So they would have to give permission for it to be a road. For them to then build, you know, multiple
right.
backlots.
So I guess what are the other problems that we're trying to solve with clarifying the language on this?
Well, I think the biggest one is for lots that have less than the required 250. The 250.
200-foot road
Two
frontage.
200 feet of road frontage. You know, if I have a lot that has 75 feet of road frontage that meets a road, and then the majority of my property is behind somebody else's, I have a non-conforming lot, right? Because I don't have enough road frontage to build on that lot, but I'm also not clearly a backup lot. Right, and so where do these lots that have a little bit of road frontage, but not as much as we say they need, fall?
Is a backup lot a different thing that I'm unaware of?
No, a back lot,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So something else to think of is, there was a workaround. So people, what they were doing is, if you have a right of way that serves that back lot, and you had the frontage, you know, the 200 feet on somebody else's property towards that road, well, then you were considered a back lot. If somebody owned 75 feet, all they had to do is basically take a 5-foot strip that abutted the road, give it to a friend for nothing, write a deed for it, along with a right of way, and guess what? They own no land on that road, so now they're automatically a back lot, so they can do it anyway. So what it is that it's not stopping these people from building. All it's doing is it's causing them to create more right of ways in order to circumvent the system.
okay.
So again, we're not really doing anything.
just like, I mean,
So if we,
it's as simple as clarifying. Does a back lot have any road frontage to it or no? If we say a back lot has absolutely zero road frontage, then that's clarifying the definition that we have. To say there's no road frontage in a back lot, and so any property that has some road frontage that's not enough, we'll have to come up with a system for them, which they have. They can deed part of the land away, they can do an easement, there's options for them. But it turns their lot into a non-conforming lot as opposed to a back lot. And it's that clarity in the definition that we're looking for, so we can help
Okay.
people navigate it, because now with the definition being a little bit muddy around whether or not any sort of road frontage is acceptable to consider it a back lot. It opens up room for debate, which is time consuming.
So this situation seems like. This is what's starting to make sense to me. So it's a back lot with some frontage, but not enough.
Right.
Is it a back lot or is it not? I mean, isn't a back lot always going to be a non-conforming lot? Because if it had the frontage, it would stop being a non-conforming lot. If that was the only, problem with the lot.
But with back lots, if they are a back lot, then you can calculate size and frontage using the front lot. But if a lot has a little bit of its own road frontage, how do you then calculate? You can't necessarily calculate the back lot's frontage from the front lot's frontage because it has its own frontage. You see where it gets muddy?
Right, and so then what are you going to use?
So then what are you gonna use?
Right. So we could write something that said like, for purposes of calculating road frontage for a lot. I mean, you'd have to define what a back lot is, I guess. Maybe it gets defined as a lot with inadequate frontage. Which doesn't necessarily make sense either.
I think you'd have to put a number to that. And I would suggest if you are gonna put a number as far as the minimum distance, it would have to be the maximum span for whatever a road would be in order to develop. Would that make sense? See, in order to, let's say, we're getting into like your development type thing.
For a road.
Exactly, so you would have to have X, number of feet width. Cause you need 8 feet on one side, 8 feet on the other, plus you need, whatever the road distance is, so whatever that maximum, space to be. If they have that, well, you're guaranteed in the future that they're going to be able, if they were to develop out in a large parcel. It would meet that entrance requirement for whatever road size, other than like a Route 1 but.
Although then if we have lots that are less than that.
It's still gonna meet it at that point. I guess that was my reasoning and thinking on that, is if you went to the maximum size, which is what, 75 feet, something like that. It would, like I said, you got 8 and 8, 16 plus, what is 22 for the minimum size, the medium size road. Yeah, it would be either that, or it would be something that would, deny them the ability to develop unless they bought more land out front. So.
I know we have a lot of lots in this town that are.
Oh, yeah.
A couple 100 feet wide and a mile long.
Mhm.
There's so many of them.
Yep.
Like this is a problem that we really ought to solve. So if there was enough width for a road, the frontage kind of stops being a problem. But if it's a driveway situation, then, or if it's like, yeah, like it seems like a lot of these situations, you have a really narrow right of way, right? Like it'll be like a 30-foot right of way because it's intended for just a driveway.
The minimum is usually 30, a lot of times is 50,
Right.
so.
Does the distance to a nearby driveway matter?
There's
If the driveway-
a setback distance of 8 feet. So you can't
That's
come any
it.
closer to a property line than 8 feet when you're creating a driveway.
Okay.
That's why I said 16, because you got 8 and 8 on either side. and then whatever the width of the driveway or minor road is, you take that into consideration, add the 2 up, and that would be the maximum area you would need in order to do that. I mean, if you even want to go down that road, I'm not trying
Yeah,
to suggest
yeah.
anything.
No, it's an interesting point. I mean, to me, like for, a single family house and the lot, if the front lot is obviously the front lot, which is also a little bit of a guessing game potentially. And that lot has all the frontage that you need, whether you own the strip with your driveway on it or it's a right of way situation across the front lot. As long as you've got the frontage and it's not too many driveways in a short distance and you've got the sight distance, like from a safety standpoint, like there isn't really a problem there, right?
Not from what I can.
Yeah,
no.
right.
At
So,
that point in time, you're meeting the driveway or minor road or,
right.
yep. And you, like you said, the way you have it right now is if you had 200 feet, so the person that would live in front of you. So your road goes in, that person that's on the left or the right, if you own 200 feet on that front, well, then that's it. The only time that doesn't get calculated in is if it's a right of way. So the right of way would not calculate into the footage area. We're running into that with Ron Davis. He wants to subdivide, but they wanted to include what the right of way would be for the entrance, and that can't be done.
The right of way doesn't count towards the road frontage.
No, because it's not even their property. It is a right of way.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
So if you had a front lot that had the right amount of road frontage, they couldn't necessarily take a right of way out of that, because that would then subtract. from the
Correct.
road frontage.
Yeah, it can actually, if you had a lot with 200 and then you basically, carved out some, it could reduce you down and make you a non-conforming lot. So it's kind of weird. Unless, we want to fix that as well. So.
Hmm.
Well, and we can do nothing but talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one has so many different potential problems that we could create by changing this language.
That's, you run into different things where, yeah, you could create something. Are we solving something? What is it going to affect? Because you got the road, the driveway, all the stuff that comes into play. So there's a lot, there really is.
Yeah, it's, I'm trying to understand so that we don't do something that just creates a bigger problem, which we occasionally do.
And I guess the main focus of this is that, we have the way that it is in the land use ordinance. According to the legal, gurus, it really is not an enforceable language. So.
Have there been legal challenges to any cases like that in the town?
Not in this town that I know of, but
Nothing, okay.
I mean, when we asked MMA, they said they read it as the assumption that there would be no road frontage. The way that it's written, but it is an assumption. They didn't know how it would hold up in court. And thought it probably. Yeah, they didn't know
I'll read this.
because it is vague.
I'll read what it says now, so we can.
yeah.
Where it is. Conversation about what it actually says. Yeah, what it should say. All right. So rear lot access. New rear lots proposed to be placed behind a legally conforming lot that has road frontage shall be deemed to comply with minimum frontage requirements if they meet all of the following. Lot conforms to dimensional requirements except for the road frontage. So this is all just trying to define if the lot has access.
Mhm.
Okay. Lot conforms to dimensional requirements. Lot has access which conforms to the applicable requirements of the street access driveways and road construction standards of the ordinance. Has necessary right-of-way access that does not reduce the road frontage of the existing road lot below the minimum established for the district in which it is located. Road frontage of the existing road lot. I don't know what that means.
Which one are we on?
10.32.3. I think that's supposed to be front lot. Does not reduce the road frontage of the existing front lot below the minimum established for the district, which is the thing that we've just been talking about.
Yep.
Okay, the portion of the new rear lot which abuts the rear lot line of the front lot shall extend a minimum length equal to the minimum road frontage required for the land use district in which it is located. And extend back a distance equal to the required front setback.
So that means that it's touching the front lot for 200 feet.
Right.
And then what it's saying is that that line that abuts that property owner, the road setback would apply to that, so they would have to meet the 75-foot setback for a rural zoning to
From
build.
that back lot from the.
Oh.
from the-
That's what you think that says?
That's how I interpret that.
Oh, I think maybe that was what they intended to say, but that's definitely not what they wrote. That makes much more sense. The portion of the rear lot which abuts the rear lot line of the front lot shall extend a minimum length equal to the minimum road frontage required. So that's the
200
rear of the front lot,
Mhm.
and then it says,
And extend back a
ex-
distance equal to the required front setback, which is.
but what
75
that's
feet.
saying is that the lot only has to be 75 feet deep. It's not saying apply that front setback. It's saying the portion,
It's saying
I mean, the subject of the sentence is the portion of the rear new lot.
Yeah.
Which is not really what they're talking about here. This is basically two sentences. They smushed them together.
Yeah.
All right, so this needs to get broken at extend back a distance. This means apply the setback. All right, and then the last line, the front lot line, for the purposes of conforming to the front structure setback requirements shall be measured from the rear lot line of the existing road frontage lot. Okay, so that's basically saying that same thing.
Mhm.
Okay. We can certainly change it, but I don't know that we can change it that's in a way that's gonna make MMA happy. So. Going back to the notes here about the conversation we just had. In a situation where we have a backlot with some frontage but not enough. It would need to have, let's say we're in the 200 foot of frontage zone, like the rural area. It would need to have a 200 foot shared lot line with the front lot. Comply with everything in the street access section. The front lot needs to also have 200 feet. And then at that point, basically everything is satisfied.
Yes.
As long as you've got room to do the setbacks in your rear lot measured from the
But the,
rear lot line of the front lot.
but
Right,
the,
and
the
so
legal,
Adding in language that says if road frontage is not enough, is not. Does not comply with the 200 feet, then. The requirements for backlot must be met, i.e. they have to have 200 feet against the what is the front lot. They have to have space for the access, all of those things.
Okay,
Or you could
All right.
add, or you could add in language that just says a back lot does not have any road frontage.
and then in that case, someone in this situation that I just described, who has some frontage but not enough frontage,
Mhm.
they then have to take their driveway that is, beside the front lot, sell that to them, and then basically trade them for a right of way across their lot.
They can give it to anybody they want as a deed for no value or $1, and it could be 5 feet. There's nothing in the book that says there's any minimums or maximums. At that point, they own no road frontage, which means they automatically become a rear lot. They have a right of way for access, but they own no frontage, and that's what's been going on in the past. Is people will come in, they have 175 feet of frontage, but they're a rear lot and they don't meet the rear lot category. So they can't, it's a non-buildable lot. So they've been doing is,
Wait, can I
Getting-
stop you right there? Well, there's another rear lot description other than this one in 10.32.
No,
Okay,
this is the description.
okay,
but again, the way that it was viewed prior and legal, they feel like the intent was to make it so that there was no road frontage. And what we're saying is that what you want to maintain, and do we want to clear up that language?
so are you saying that they say that there's no, I guess I
It
guess I
either
don't
meets the
understand the
200 or
complaint.
it doesn't.
and in which case they're saying.
And if it doesn't, then it has to meet the rear lot setback stuff, which is the 200 feet for the abutting property.
Right,
And then it has to have a right of way, obviously, to get to the property. And then it would,
I mean, one of the things, we're sort of talking about existing lots, but one of the things that I would love to prevent is for people who are doing a subdivision, creating, I'm gonna carve out 50 feet and add it to this property so they have road access. Right, as opposed to, because that makes really messy lots, is they're like trying to,
mhm.
stick in these small little narrow strips. To give people sort of to make lots, right? So I just, in getting people to think when they're subdividing, how to make clean lots. Right now, they're saying, well, they sometimes try to, and again, if it's a subdivision, it comes before you guys. But to be able to say, this little 50 feet alleyway that you've carved out in these plans makes it really weird and messy.
Mhm.
So, and my babysitter just called, so.
Okay. It's interesting because to me, like, it's less messy to have owned property instead of the legally messy situation of having a right of way
Right.
or an easement across someone else's property.
and that's been the workaround for people is, they don't own the full amount. So the only way they can make it a buildable lot is to get rid of what they own, even if it's 5 feet. The road front, so they have no road frontage. Well, now they can apply the standards for the rear lot to do that.
That was actually one of the plans, the Washington Road one, where there was the back lot that was near the railroad tracks. One of the plans they came up with was to give away the land, like the 1 foot or something in front of it, which you guys didn't like.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that was goofy. So. I mean, this gives a pathway for some lots
Mhm.
to comply, but it doesn't work for everybody, especially if the front lot is part of a series of lots that have all been efficiently cut up that only have 200 feet of frontage to start with, because then you're never going to get any of this to comply.
You know, whatever we decided, and you guys are much more up on this, it should be clear. I mean, this to me sounds like, you know, a black hole collision. These.
Well, what we thought we knew,
Well, you
we
know,
don't know anymore
seriously,
because
I mean,
lawyers say otherwise.
Medicine, you know, you have
Yep.
clear sets of, this is the protocol. So whatever we decide or whatever, it should be clear enough so that the average person doesn't pull their hair out. You know what I'm saying? It seems like, you know, give this foot, give them 5 feet. Come on.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't, that, again, the particulars, you guys seem to be on, it, but I think in general, the arc of it should be more of a simple, direct land use ordinance that people understand and they know what they have and they don't try to scam the system.
Mhm.
That,
yeah,
it-
no argument here. This
Right.
is not clear and understandable. The problem is that, like, you're also trying to be brief.
right.
You know, and
Yeah,
you're
sure.
trying to create a couple of sentences
Succinct.
that sort of encompass all of these potential problems. And I don't think that this, as it's written, like, it definitely offers a pathway for a rear lot to get, you know, compliant access, but it's certainly not going to solve every problem for
No.
every backlot situation.
And I think if there's any bit of ambiguity in this or anything, you're gonna have those people who are gonna be able to turn it how they want,
All right,
twist it.
okay, yeah. All right, we've been continuing to talk about the rear lot. I think that this is sort of useful, what we have here, like it's a pathway. But it doesn't address all of the many dozens of different situations that we would encounter, right? Um, as you were stepping out, I said that to me, like, a piece of property that owns outright its access to the road is cleaner in a legal sense, but you know, certainly not from a map making sense.
Well,
You know?
not from our land use ordinance sense.
Yeah.
In terms of how it's written. Certainly cleaner from a legal sense, but from how it's interpreted in our land. use
Right,
ordinance.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's
I guess
problematic.
That's what I meant, is
Yeah.
that it's messy in terms of how we then interpret later the land use ordinances.
Yeah. I know somebody who owns one of these long skinny lots and he's thinking about starting to develop it, and you know, it's big enough to support many house lots in the rural zone, but there certainly is not 200 feet of road frontage for every one of these, because the lot is probably 40 times as long as it is wide, you know? And so there ought to be a way to develop those lots without having to, you know,
Well, if he made a
play.
road and a road association, he could.
Right, right.
So one of the things that we did, another legal question that we had, there's been a few things that we've had to kick off the legal with in reference to this. And another one was the way that our land use ordinance is written. If it is a private road, then the setbacks apply to the private road. Okay, so we've had people say before, well, I can build my house right up to, you know, this private road because it's private. And our land use ordinance also includes the road private. And I
Makes perfect
think that
sense to me.
needs, yeah, I think that needs to stay there because if you don't, well, then you're gonna have people putting in private roads that are, you know, or, you know, these small little things building right up to it, and
We
then
had
now
that.
you have all these non-conforming structures.
Yeah, exactly. We had this problem with the one with Smoke and Annie and Abden Simmons, right?
Oh, that's still going on.
That road runs like right next to
still-
Abden's house, right? And like it doesn't have the proper frontage.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So guess why don't we start by rewriting 10.32 to clarify this? And maybe in the process of making this understandable, we can find some other things that we can clarify about how to do the rear lot access. So this 10.32.4 could get cleaned out because half of that is really in 0.5.
I'll also kick this out there just so you guys know. The time period for the November election is gone, so you have theoretically, what, 4 or
Yeah.
5 months before you have to come up with any concrete stuff, so.
Yeah,
It's
by our March,
no pressure.
we need to have our draft done and voted on by the March meeting so that it can get voted on select board at the April meeting. That's the timeline. Okay,
Hopefully, we'll get some new members so we can have legal meetings.
love that. Yes. All right, well,
Especially if you're gonna get the babies first.
if there's nothing else, let's adjourn.
Loving aunties who don't need payment.
Oh, that's good.
Well, we can't officially adjourn because we never were.
We were never mentioned.
Yeah, we were never.